Maru Nihoniho developed a passion for gaming from an early age. She went on to found award-winning game development company Metia Interactive, picking up a number of awards for herself along the way. She spoke to MBR's Dane Ambler at the New Zealand Games Developers Conference in Auckland.
Why did you set up Metia Interactive?
I've always enjoyed playing games. From a young age, of about 10 years old, I used to head up to the takeaway shop, usually on a Friday night, to get fish and chips for dinner. And I remember ordering as little as I could so I could have a lot of change left over for the Spaceys machines. And I used to stand there, and I remember thinking while I was playing, the Spacey games, how did they make them? I was really curious into how did they get the graphics moving, the control systems. And I remember thinking to myself, I want to know how they did that, from a young age. I guess about 15 years ago, I decided to find out how, That came through from years of still playing video games, a combination of being creative and I guess, taking a little bit of a risk into venturing into a new industry and starting a new business.
Was starting your own business harder than you thought it would be?
Starting the business was pretty straightforward. Starting a game development business was really hard because I hadn't had any sort of formal training or experience in game development or design. My confidence came from being a creative person. I guess I take risks, I'm not scared to give it a go. What I did have to do was learn all about the industry really fast.
The gaming sector has just 21% female employees. What barriers have you faced on your journey?
One of the barriers, for me now, especially in 15 years in running Metia, is getting girl gamers in. There just aren't enough of us out there, and I'm not talking just in terms of players, actually girls that make games, that design and develop these games. But when you look at the history of tech in general, that's a common theme where there's just not enough females in the industry. I know that in more recent years there have been initiatives and projects to get girls interested in technology in general, but there's also been that for getting girls interested in game design and development as well. So I think people look at me sometimes as a role model, that hey, I'm female and I make games and I have a company, so it is doable. I had a vision, I stuck with it. Even though throughout the years I've taken little side paths down the side track, I've always come back to where I want to go.
Which is Guardian, right? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Back in 2003 when I started Metia, Guardian was actually my first game idea that I had. It was the one that sort of got me excited about developing and designing games, because I thought, hey, I've got a cool story to tell, and I think this character is a strong female character that, our girls will, or anybody can look up to. It's cultural, very cultural, based in New Zealand. At the time, I think Lord of the Rings, Whale Rider, were big out there on international stage, and I thought, well, this is perfect, I'll go overseas and I'll pitch this and see if I can get someone interested, in terms of a funder or investor or publisher. Well, everyone loved the idea. Everyone I talked to said, this character looks great, we love it, wonderful. They just didn't like the fact that I hadn't made a game before. So understandably, who wants to give someone a couple of $1 million or more to go away and make a game when they haven't actually made one before? But being super confident, and I can do this, I know I can do this, just give me the money and you'll see the game. It was quite upsetting to have on one side someone saying to you, we love the idea, we think this will be a great game, but on the other side saying, but we think you can't make it, you know. So it was like, oh, you know, that's just, okay, deep breath, carry on, you know. And so I did that for almost 2 years, you know, pitched this idea to as many people as I could. Not just in games too, I mean, film people got interested as well. And yeah, but it was the same story. Love the idea, but we don't know about you, you know. So you have to be pretty resilient, you know, to take those sort of no's. You know, you have to sort of be, all right, understand. You don't want to give someone like me money because we haven't built games before. So what that did though was got me thinking about how I can have a reputation in the industry. You know, I need that title, I need that experience. So that's when I took that small pivot with designing and developing Cube.
You've won awards for gaming, mental health and your entrepreneurship. So what's your greatest achievement?
My greatest achievement was when I signed my first game publishing deal. You know, it was at the time, and when I reflect back now, a huge achievement. I had spent 2 years pitching. I had spent all my money travelling and designing a prototype. I had come to the end of the road practically before the deal was signed. I wasn't able to travel anymore. You know, I was feeling quite low and down because nobody, you know, wanted to give me money for Guardian. I had spent money on a prototype for Cube that I'd just spent a lot of time pitching that around, and I still hadn't had a yes. I was back here in New Zealand with only maybe a couple of $100 left to spend. And I thought, wow, I've just spent 2 years travelling and pitching and nothing's happened. This can't be the end. You know, this really just can't be it. What am I going to do? An opportunity came up where I was able to travel to Melbourne to another games conference with other New Zealand game developers. And I was pitching Cube for the last time while I was there at Melbourne. And it was at that conference when a publisher said to me that they would like to give me some money for Cube. I didn't believe it because I kind of heard that before. I was like, thank you, yes. Until I got back home, and he had sent me through an email with a contract for my lawyer to have a look at. And I just remember looking at that email and thinking, am I dreaming? You know, is this for real? Because it had, everything before that was so hard. And now it just seemed to melt away. You know, it was just like, oh, it was worth it.
Mitia Interactive founder Maru Nihoniho speaking to MBR's Dane Ambler.